especially men, view therapy as a tool you use when you're about to divorce. Like that's what you are almost trained to think. So it was always the last resort. It was always the final thing you do just to try to hold on. Let's go there.
Like a really bad mom. Who, quote unquote, I'm tired of people in my race, so I need to find me somebody white. This is how I knew that Brian
Don't do it.
was going to be a great physical partner.
Don't tell them. Hey everyone, welcome to the Let's Get Deep podcast, where we have conversations about our lives that most people would never.
I'll
be honest, I almost forgot the intro. That's how long it's been since we've done a podcast.
You guys, we are apologizing right now. It has been a crazy time. We're going to talk about some of these updates, but it has been really crazy.
When we got back from Africa, it was just like a whirlwind.
We needed some time to regroup, get our lives together. So, yeah.
That's part of what we're talking about today, of one of the big projects that we're working on and why, things were crazy for a little while. Also, I'm doing my very best to stay awake, y'all. I'm going to be honest. For those of you that don't know, I'm actually running a marathon with my brothers. So today we have like 6 weeks left before we do it. We did a 19-mile run today. I'm exhausted. My legs feel like they're going to fall apart. But I have energy for this conversation because I'm very excited about it.
I am shocked of how much you have been running with your brothers. That is a story of its own, guys. We're going to talk about that one day. I think you should talk about the story of your brothers.
Yeah. And honestly, Nathan lives an hour away, and we're still meeting up on Saturdays.
Yeah. And just you guys' like relationship. I think that's something that I feel like maybe if they would be open
they wouldn't come on.
They wouldn't?
No, they would need to. Because
I was going to say.
Just me talking about it is not like doing it justice.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But that's a whole story for real. Like the reconciliation of our brotherhood and like the depth of our relationship and some of the ups and downs and where we're at today. It's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. Which, speaking of reconciliation and all the things, I don't know if you guys have been following us or looking at it, but we did something really big.
We wrote a book.
Do you want to call it? I was about
journal
to say
/ guidebook / memoir.
It's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of a journal. It's a guide. It's a vulnerability. It's transparency. It's all the things. And it's a journal for you guys to also do the same thing that we did.
Which is why I love it, because it's legitimately like a hybrid of so many different things, and it includes so many different variations of interaction and reading and activity and all of those components that I'm like, that's the type of book I would want to read.
Yeah.
And I believe it's the type of something that someone else would want to read as well. We want you all to buy a copy because we want to hear your feedback. We also want to see how it's really helping your relationships and what you guys are learning from it. And talk and create this conversation and dialogue. DM us. We want to hear about it. So click this link. We're putting it in the description. I'm going to put it on the top here somewhere. But click it. Pre-orders are out now, and we're shipping out October 14th for the official release. We are so excited.
So excited. And it is a journal, a workbook. It has stories in it, a lot of vulnerability, transparency,
activities,
tips, guides. All of this is not just from our words, from words of therapists, research, and just guidance. So we're excited about it, guys. And it's interesting because, y'all, we have been working on this for the last,
year and a half. Seriously, the last year, but the last year and a half.
Yes, I would say a year and a half because we have put so much thought into it. We actually thought about this 4 or 5 years ago. Brian and I started going to therapy. I want to say 2017?
We were still living in Troy.
Yes. I can't believe that.
Was it 2 years into our marriage?
During the Europe trip.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, the Europe trip, that was like the first argument in our marriage. And I think it was after a year. I feel like it was 2 years. I'm not sure. Maybe it was maybe it was a Colorado trip.
Europe was 2 years in.
Oh, Europe was 2 years in. Mm-hmm. Okay. So yes, I remember it was 2 years in. And I remember after the Europe trip, that was our first argument in our marriage where we were having a very hard time getting out of it.
Yeah, I feel like we were like just colliding and trying to find compromise, trying to understand, trying to like hear each other, and it just was not working. We were truly at a what we call the impasse.
Yes. And I remember this is where the first question of our journal came from, because during that time in the Europe trip, you were making so many decisions on your own, and you were just doing things without like consulting me, so much so where I was like, we are very different. Something is clashing in our character. And I remember asking you,
Personality, not character.
well, I think your character is that though. We'll talk about it. But
I disagree.
But I asked you, are you an independent thinker? And I realized that I was more of a collaborative thinker. And that's where like one of our first questions of our journal came from. Are you a collaborative or independent thinker? Because when you were doing all of these things on your own, I was still struggling because I'm like, I want us to talk through it. I want us to figure it out, be a team. And you were like, no, I got it. And I realized that you are naturally just an independent mover. Every job that you've had has been you independently going. And for me, every job, and I look back, every job that I've had has been collaborative.
Yeah. Lexi makes fun of me. Well, not make fun of me, but she always tells a story of how like I was the kid in, elementary school doing this group science project, but like I would do it for everyone and just put all their names on it and get an A because I don't trust anyone to like do it to the level that I would want to do it.
Y'all, I was so shocked when Brian told me that when we were there. I was like,
oh, yeah.
I would never do that.
Yeah,
I would never do that.
I don't trust anyone else to do the quality work that I do, which is like a flaw that I had to overcome. But in our marriage, I would come in and just like, no, I can just do this stuff. Like,
yeah.
And it wasn't like it's not that I didn't want your opinion, or in my head, it wasn't that I didn't value your opinion. It was just like, I can just make a decision and we can move forward and I can do this. And it was very simplistic in my mind.
Yeah.
It was very straightforward, clear cut. Like, I'm not harming us. I'm helping us. I'm just making decisions. We're moving forward. This is the right direction. I know it's the right direction, so I'm going to go this way.
And for me, I struggle with that so much because I think neither one of them are bad.
No.
And that's the thing that we also had to realize, that neither one of them are bad, but there's what I call like maybe perverted versions of those characteristics. Like, yes, I love that I'm a collaborative person because I can use that in so many ways, but also there's times where I have to make decisions on my own and I'm like pausing so hard.
Lexi struggles to make decisions. Well, not as much anymore. Back then, it was hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard to get you to choose something, especially a big decision. I'm like, girl.
Oh my gosh. Like I will say that I still struggle to a degree, nowhere near as much as I used to, because if I did, I would not have a business. But I struggle with decision fatigue because I think I am more of a collaborative thinker. And when we went through that, I realized that there was so much of that rising up. And we started to realize it more and more and more after that trip, where we were trying to figure out what to do, how to handle it, but we didn't really have a guide to handle deep hurt from each other in that way.
I don't know if I shared deep hurt from you. I was just frustrated because I felt like you weren't understanding me. I wasn't understanding you, and we weren't figuring it out. I think you were hurt from me.
Yeah.
Because what it like snowballed into was my independent decision making started to make you feel voiceless. It started to make you feel like your opinion didn't matter, that I didn't value your presence in this relationship and your position in this relationship. And it kind of like had a lot of strings attached to it that those things started to hurt. And I never really understood why you were feeling. I'm like, I do value your opinion. I do care about, I just wasn't used to having to bring you in to decisions and like not make decisions, not make moves until we were on the same page. I didn't fully grasp like the practicality of the application of that.
Yeah. And I think that there was a point where I did say like, I think we need to go to therapy. and in my mind, let me tell you, my background, therapy is nothing to me.
Lexi's like, therapy's like everyone. We should all go there.
We should all go to therapy. What's wrong with therapy? And Brian, when we started dating, Brian was so on board for therapy. You were like, first of all, let's do this.
There is a difference between being theoretically asked if you would do something and then realizing like, oh, now I'm being asked to do the thing.
That's so real.
Especially for men with therapy. It was a real like moment. It was a crossroads for my life where I was open to therapy, right? But you, especially men, view therapy as a tool you use when you're about to divorce. Like that's what you are almost trained to think.
Wow.
And I don't want to say all men because I don't want to generalize, but I just know the men around me growing up, that's how we talked. That's how it was positioned. It's like, yeah, of course, you go to couples counseling if you can't figure it out and you're about to split. So it was always the last resort. It was always the final thing you do just to try to hold on. And so when I told you I was willing to go to therapy, I'm like, I will do anything to save our marriage.
That's what I thought. That's what I was just going to ask you is that's what you thought when I said, do you?
So here Lexi is.
And it was crazy.
I think we need to go to therapy. I'm like, is it that bad?
But what's crazy is that I didn't realize that that's what you thought. Like, I don't think to this day, I never thought.
Really?
I never
we
thought
never had that conversation?
No, I don't think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm surprised when there's conversations that we haven't had before. I'm like, there's stuff we haven't talked about.
I guess in my mind, I knew that you were uncomfortable doing it at first, and then you realized that was like.
But you didn't get why.
I didn't get why. I think you just realized that your mental model of therapy was off, and then we worked through it, and then we got to a better place. But I didn't know that you thought, you were like, I still think therapy is good, but it's the end. Like
it was like, it's a sign that we're at the end. And so when you said, I think it's time to go to therapy, I'm spinning, like, because it's almost like an admission that, well, it's two things in my head. It was an admission that we can't figure this out on our own.
Yeah.
And then there's a pride factor in that. I need help from someone else, but we should be able to figure this out. We love each other too much. We should be able to figure this out. So like there's a lowering of my pride and ego. But then the second piece is like, so what does this mean for us? If I decide to go to therapy, then I'm admitting that we're at the end. And I was like, but we're not. Like, I'm not divorcing you. You're not divorcing me. We're not there.
And for me,
weird.
Therapy was definitely a place where I'm like, we need to do something before we even think about it. Like, I see therapy as like, man, I hurt my toe. I need to go to the doctor. Like, that's how simple it is for me.
It is.
Yeah.
I believe that now fully. But I think it was, you did a great job explaining to me, because you saw me spinning. You saw me reeling of like, but you explained of like, therapy is literally just bringing a third person into the conversation.
Yeah.
They just happen to be really knowledgeable and wise as to how to go about these things in a healthy way. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between going to your pastor and asking for their advice on something and going to a therapist, especially a Christian therapist? Obviously, like, one is more spiritual and one is more, emotional or natural, whatever you want to call it. But the point is, you bring in other people who are wiser than you to give counsel in certain situations. But it was like, my mind was trained, it's okay to ask a pastor, but don't go over here.
And that's a whole conversation within itself.
Which we won't get into.
I'm about to say, because that right there is a mental model that has been formed in the church that needs to be shaken up and tore down. I also believe that I don't ever want to get to the place where we are about to get a divorce and now we decide to go to therapy, because in my mind, I always envision by the time you go to therapy in that season, you are breaking down so many walls to get to you, because you've already put up so many walls by that time and you're done.
The work is so much harder.
The work is so much harder.
Like, can we preemptively get ahead of these walls going up? Maybe when it's just like one or two bricks and just quickly, easily knock it down.
I really think that once we went to therapy, we realized that there was just root issues that we wanted to handle, like you said, of the trust and the appreciation and the value I was struggling with. And it's not that you didn't feel that. It just wasn't reciprocated to me. Like, I didn't feel it. And we went on a rabbit hole there.
Rabbit trail.
But that's okay, because I felt it was good. I think that the main reason why we started the journal was that first session. I don't know if it was our first or second session. And because we were different types of thinkers, we went into the meeting and she asked us a huge question. And it was, have you guys ever done a big project together?
So we're 2 years into our marriage. We were dating for 4 years before we got married. Friends even longer than that. And there was like a big shot to the ego when she asked this question of like, have you guys ever done a project together, truly together, that you're proud of and you like successfully did it? And we're like, no. Like buying the house, that's not like a project.
You
like
did most of
the
it.
furniture, I guess, but like there was nothing that we had come together on in 50-50, like
let's do it
work
together. And a lot
I
of
was a
that,
little embarrassed.
I know I was a little embarrassed too.
I
was really trying to think. And when I tell you my mind went blank,
I was like,
are you
"There's
serious?
nothing?"
I was like, I'm feeling air in my brain right now. And did we start the journal because we want to do a big project? Not at all. But we learned that we struggled with building intimacy through conflict. Like we didn't, when we had an issue, yes, we handled it to a degree, but then when it got past, like when it got to deep hurt and pain, like we were struggling at the time. And I think we needed to learn how to do that. And as we learned how to do that, we started doing projects together. We were able to handle working together.
we started a whole business together.
We started a whole business together. But even then, I think that it wasn't 50-50.
It wasn't. No.
And we learned to get to 50-50. And we learned to be able to trust each other in different spaces and do uncomfortable things. And all of that was through us, one, talking to a therapist, but also reading books together, doing research together, learning each other, learning our characteristics and being okay with our differences. All of that throughout the years, we came up with different kinds of questions that we wanted to ask people. And it came from a place of like, we've been through some hard things. And not just because we believe that our way is the right way. That's why we didn't want to create a whole book, but we created a journal to help people ask these same questions.
So what I was going to say is that I believe when I met you, you already had a passion for relationships. You had like a strong passion for relationships.
My background is in social work. And in marriage and family.
I didn't. Like I was like, I mean, yeah, we're gonna work hard and be romantic, and we're gonna do this. Like it was just more simple in my mind. And by no means was I naive to the work that needed to be done. I was ready to do the work, but I didn't have like a passion for, I don't know, perfecting the different dynamics of relationship, if you can say that. And I think you really drew that out of me to the point where, when I tell you guys, Lexi was so intentional about what she wanted out of a marriage. And it was the most beautiful thing. Like when you started painting this picture of like, I just don't want to be that couple, that XYZ. I will never be okay with mediocrity and comfortability and this and that. Like we always have to grow. You were so keen on that. I think it's also because of certain life experiences you've had where you knew that if this was going to work, we had to be so zeroed in on each other through kids, through life circumstance, through busyness, through all these things of like, it's not just about doing the work and being willing to work. And that was the other piece. It's about intentionality. I remember one time you asked me like, what do I think is one of the most important things that makes a successful marriage? And I was like, intentionality.
Yeah.
And you and I have been very intentional with our relationship. And so some of those key components that we do, that's also what I wanted to share.
Yeah.
I was like, we are very, very focused on assessing where we're at and understanding what it's going to take and then having a plan to execute on those things. That sounds a little less romantic than it really is. But
no, I was going to tell you that I think that one of the things that I think about the most when I think about the journal is you. Because yes, and I think about it often. I thought I told you this, maybe I didn't, but
no, affirm me more. Where's this going? This is nice.
But because I watched you change some of the most hardest roots in you to be a better person overall, not just for me, but to be a better person overall. when we talk about our race, things that we talked about with racism and you understanding the true dynamics and empathizing and getting to a level that maybe that thought that you had of maybe what I've been doing and how I've been thinking all this time may be wrong. And am I willing to change the way that I think? That is literally the base of our journal.
That's the essence of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, if we were to capture, to your point, the thought of the journal, like in one statement, it really would be, are you willing to admit to yourself and then do the work that the way you've been doing things or the way that you've been thinking about things could be wrong your entire life?
Yeah.
Are you willing to be okay with lowering your pride, opening yourself up, being open to the idea, and then now doing the work that it takes upon that realization?
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing to do.
It's not.
We attempt to help you all walk through what that process may look like and some of the different components of it. We hit a lot of different topics, different aspects of relationship, because maybe 2 or 3 of these aspects you guys do an amazing job. Maybe 2 or 3 you're failing at, and the others are, okay, but can be better. But like, we give an opportunity to really reflect on the status of your relationship. Yeah. And then what are the key components to opening the door to changing that and improving that and getting to where you really want to be.
Yeah. And I want to make this clear. And one of the things I wish we could have put in the journal is we're not telling you to change into the person that we're not telling you to change to your spouse and transform into your spouse.
Yeah.
We're not talking about like perfection of their version of perfection. We're talking about, are there components in your mind that you need to work on? And are you willing to do the work to take those out? To give you an example, one of the things that we talk about is dealing with unforgiveness on my side. I struggle with that for years. And sometimes it creeps up in different seasons of my life, and I have to use tools to get away from it, because my mental model was that if somebody hurt me, they have to make it up to me. Like, they have to do these things to work at it, versus, okay, they apologized. Is that enough? Are they genuinely sorry? Is that enough? That is something that my mental model was, well, they need to work. They need to, get me to be better until I'm better. And that's not right. And that was something I was a root thing that I needed to change. And if somebody's genuinely sorry, then I have to work on my forgiveness. I have to work on my healing. And not to say they don't treat somebody like trash, but that is something that I have to work on. That's me. That's me issue.
I do think that was probably the most impactful piece for you out of the whole journal.
You think so?
The one that I think you identified the most with what you had to be willing to change, I think so.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what mine is.
How you, I would say.
Maybe the empathy.
I would say empathy. And then I would say how you handled arguments and thinking it's okay in this relationship.
Mm-hmm. Day 15 of the journal, we talk about empathy. That's a good story. I'm just saying.
It y'all is get the deep, journal, y'all.
That's a deep story.
It is deep.
I share some stuff. We share some stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, we're getting into it, but I'm telling you, this is like, we've had a few people read it, and they have just given us so many compliments of us being vulnerable and transparent. And it was a huge jump for us. Like, we're talking about some real stuff and things that we aren't just like, we have passed. These are things that we constantly make an effort to work on.
And this is a whole different conversation that we are not going to go into today. But Lexi and I are reading this book, and I'm going to keep the name of it to myself because I want to actually fully explore this topic.
Yeah.
But even now, this is so exciting for me, because even now, like, after all the work Lexi and I have put in to our relationship and doing research and understanding relational dynamic and all these things, There's a book that we're reading by someone that we very much trust on the research and insight that this person has that is really shifting the way we think about conflict.
Oh my goodness, y'all. It is shifting the way we think about conflict.
It's so healing too.
Oh, it's so healing. Like you just
it's
feel it.
It's a whole different conversation.
Oh my gosh.
I promise we will go into that probably in the next one or two.
I would love to talk about that.
Right there.
Yeah.
But it is just, I love the fact that when you care and when you are intentional, you seek out wisdom and you seek out perspectives and you open yourself to different ideas. Not that you have to accept every idea that you come by. Of course, you filter it through the Holy Spirit and you filter it through your belief structures and all of that. But when we were presented information and we really sat down and understood, we're like, we have approached this
the wrong way.
And
not to say that it's not that in my mind, I don't think that we necessarily approached it the wrong way.
Not conflict
it's more
itself.
It's more of us saying that this is wrong. It's not necessarily wrong. It's just not working for us.
Or it's not wrong for me and it's not wrong for you, but together it's not working.
It's not working.
So not labeling the way that you have conflict or the way that you communicate or the way that I communicate as wrong. Now, there are ways to communicate that are wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please don't hear what I'm saying.
Yes.
But the way that you and I were communicating in its nature was not wrong separately.
Yes.
But it's like how, when we come together, does our conflict need to shift and mold into how you receive and pour out and how I receive and pour out. And then also, again, not being frustrated and labeling your partner because they are not doing it the way that you would naturally do it.
That's good.
It's like, I'm not going to judge you or condemn you for the way that you do it. We just need to figure out a different way for me.
Yes. It was good. I can't wait to talk to you guys about that because, and I love, this is actually, we read books just about self-development, but this is the first time that we're actually, because Brian's a fast reader. He's a fast reader. But I
read a whole book in a day that last week.
Yeah, like Brian, usually you read things extremely fast, and it's not that you don't read self-development because you do, but this is the first time that we're actually kind of close to where we're reading it at the same time. But you're a little faster than me still.
No, but here's the big difference though. With these types of books, I'm like taking my time and trying to process it more methodically.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a novel. Like a novel, I'll clean it out, right? And just get through it and enjoy the experience. But with this type of book, I'm like, I need to sit with this. I need to process this. I need time to let it marinate.
Yeah.
And that's been really, really great because we're having like conversations throughout as we go. And it's been awesome.
It's been good. And part of that came from a place where we're like, we really wanted to grow even more in the way that we think about conflict. Yeah. And I love that you did this. You actually bought books after we put out the journal. You wanted to read more books to study this thing. And he has something that he's been studying that is incredible. And I can't wait for you to talk about it. And I was like, I really want to learn more about conflict and study it more. And the fact that we both have like our things that we're trying to study, and I'd say we don't like study things together, but the fact that we have this thing, like I feel like this is the project that we really want to grow in. I love it. And I'm excited about it. We in there. Who says, do we do big projects now? Do we do big projects now?
We do big projects now.
We do big projects now.
This was 50-50 and we did it.
Yes.
I feel so
good.
Okay.
Okay. Not to say that this is a conversation I had with somebody, and I want to see what you think.
Okay.
So when people talk about goals and relationship goals, and when you quit your job and everybody was like, man, I want me and my husband do this. I want me and my husband do this. How do you feel about that?
Sometimes I think it's a naive statement. Sometimes it doesn't have to be. Some people can know what they're getting into, but it's not easy.
It is not.
It's not
easy, y'all.
And I will say though, this is, I don't know why I keep touching. I just miss you. Touching you. Actually, Lexi makes fun of me all the time because like when I want to get her attention, I'll just naturally be like, babe, hey babe. Hey,
oh my goodness.
Hey babe.
And then sometimes when I'm touched out, I'm like, too many.
Granted, it's not me touching her now. It's Elijah.
It's Elijah, man.
It's Elijah,
Elijah
touching you out.
I love Elijah so much. He has my heart. But ooh, he just touches me. And I'm not like, my love language is not physical touch.
And you always said it was.
And actually, I think it's going down to my third because of Elijah. I think I'm shifting. But anyway, go ahead.
What's your second? Act of service? What were we talking about? What did you say?
We were saying about working together.
Okay. The part that people may think that we're referring to that is difficult, that is not difficult for us whatsoever, is being around each other all the time.
Not at all.
Love that part for us.
Not an issue.
I miss Lexi when I'm not working next to her. It's weird. It's
Brian
like,
was
where
on
are
a
you?
boys trip last week. He went on a boys trip.
With my brothers.
And when I tell you, it was as if this man was right next to me because he was texting me. And then I would text other people that he was also in the group chat with. And he was like, I'm jealous because you're texting the group chat and you're not texting me. Like, that is how he is. I love
aren't you
that.
responding to
That
me
I don't know.
fast enough?
I think my sole thing is quality time because I love stuff like that. I love stuff. It
as much as
fills
Lexi
me up.
laughs about it, it fills her cup.
It really does. It makes me feel like, wow, like you're really thinking about me. But
Yeah, like
anyway.
heavily. So it's not being together.
No.
Being together is great. Working together next to each other is great. It is just when you have to split roles and responsibilities and duties and get accustomed to having to run things by each other and getting two opinions constantly on everything. And a part of me feels like you and I just need to do a better job of splitting up things and trusting each other to make decisions. I don't know. Mostly you would be making more of the decisions. I still need to get kind of approvals from you.
I think we're just in
as
that
I'm learning in this
stage.
world.
Yeah.
To do certain things that you were doing and try to take over some of those responsibilities. But it is that transition of bringing me into something that you've already been working through. And not the content itself, but it's like the back end stuff, all the back end stuff.
I remember when you were at your job, and I think about this often because I've never done it before. When you were at your job and coworkers, when you would have a new team member come and you say, hey, you have to teach these, you have to teach the new team member like all these things. And you would get so annoyed when you were that team member that had to teach all these, teach this person. And then now you're a leader and you're telling your members under you that you have to teach this person and they're all annoyed. And I used to be so irritated with that. I'm like, wow, they just don't want to take the time out to teach these people. I'm like, they do not care. Like, I was like, that's rude.
And now?
Woo-wee. I get it because it takes so much time. It takes so much time. And I'm glad you said that
because now you can appreciate the stress that I was under when I had to do it.
I do.
Because I'm not cold hearted and just like, I just don't care about people. Like, no, it's just, and you're teaching stuff that's like 101 and you're like, oh my God, can't you just get it already?
And I don't want to say that I see that with you sometimes.
It's okay to say it. There are some things it's like,
it's some things that just wasn't clicking. And I was like,
Brian, what
and I'm trying.
Sounds like a fly.
Right? It's just because that's how it is. It's like, but it's one of those things where I have never been in this position.
It's a good thing I can take critique well because.
No, I feel like this is more of us because I'm learning how to do this with you. This is my first time. I was just about to say this. This is my first time doing something like this. Yeah. And where I've been so busy and so like have to run because even though we've run this thing for a few years now, you're taking on more tasks because we're demanding more things because you quit. So we're doing more and it's requiring us to communicate even more to a higher level. And so when I think about people that want to do this full time, I'm like, do you know? And I'm talking about not doing it just okay. But I'm talking about you're trying to make money off this. We're trying to build more than just we're on, social media. We're trying to do so much more. We're trying to be great. And it requires a lot more.
I think it's also not hilarious, but it is also a definite factor that you have to consider is like we operate on two very different speeds.
Yes.
I operate like we're going hard. We're gonna do this. We're lining up these things and let's go. And Lexi's not used to that speed. Lexi's used to the speed that she's doing. She's doing her thing, but she's doing it at her pace. And when I came in the picture, I'm looking around. I'm like, no, let's go. And so adjusting that, also knowing that when I'm saying let's go, it's more on her, and so it's
also saying let's go. You'll be ready to burn the fire, and the fire's out. Like,
I don't know what you're referring to with that analogy. What fire?
I'm saying you're ready to like go so fast where you're like, putting in the wood for the fire, and it's like the fire's completely like, you're still like, no, let's go. And it's like, it's done. Like we need to slow down. There's a balance with it.
There's definitely seasons we got to slow down. But.
Yes. And we even realized recently that moving too fast was too much.
No, I definitely agree. I think I can definitely go too fast. I think it's also not just too fast, but like I layer on too many things at once because I think we can do it all. And I feel like I'm just Superman sometimes. I'm like, yeah, we're going to do this. I'm a visionary. Like, I'm like, this is the things we can do. Oh, wouldn't it be cool? And so I like lay out all these things, but I don't think about the bandwidth that it's going to require to do all these things simultaneously, because this thing is in September, this thing is October, this thing, like, what are we going to feel? And that's where you come in, because you're like, what are we going to feel when we're doing these things? We're going to be stressed. We're going to be overwhelmed. And I'm like, nah, it's fine. And
sometimes the bandwidth is just not there. Like, you can't, like, it ends up hurting us and hurting our family. So I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah. So I'm trying to be more cautious of that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be more cognizant of it, to be assessing, like, where are we going to be at mentally if we take this on? Where are we going to be at emotionally? Where's our family going to be at? Are we spending enough time with us, with the kids? So I think we're just more strategic about what we take on, and
also I think that our qualities balance each other out. Like, it helps us get to a better place and helps us like really, really see each other's, what am I trying to say? It helps us see
each other's world.
Not each other's world, but I think there's gifts in what we have. There's gifts in the way that we think, and utilizing that for the good instead of experiencing the perverted version of those gifts.
Before we wrap up, the one of the last thoughts that I had that I wanted to express was that, and Lexi's very passionate about this, so once I say what it is, she's probably gonna be like, oh, yes. It's that we believe that one of the key components of conflict is creating a safe space for conflict.
Yeah.
Because we talk about intimacy and communication through conflict. And when you learn how to create a safe space and create a healthy environment for someone, a lot of the things that make conflict so difficult naturally start to dissipate.
Yeah.
Defensiveness, aggressiveness, all of these different components. When you create a healthy space for that, and you let your partner know it's okay to be vulnerable, and you let them know that you want to hear their opinion, you want to ask questions, you want to understand, when you do those like base layer, fundamental, foundational things, it makes the conflict so much more, not just manageable, but what we found before we read the conflict book, what we found is that conflict can actually bring intimacy.
Yes.
Which is such a beautiful thing.
Yes.
When you go through something difficult together, it is an emotional connection as you go through it the right way.
Yeah. And you do it, if you do it in a bad way, it leaves such a deep scar. In that same way, if you do it the right way, it builds so much closeness and intimacy, and you feel closer, you feel connected. A lot of people say that, and research has shown that marriages that stay longer, one of the key components is that they argue, they have conflict.
Conflict is good, and we're teetering on the other conversation.
No, we gotta let it go. We gotta let it go.
Too deep.
But creating a safe space has been huge for us. We talk about a huge pivotal moment in our marriage that we were struggling hard. Like, it was a massive, deeply rooted argument. Like, we were extremely hurt, and creating, and I would say I was the one that was hurt in the sense, but I wanted to create a safe space for Brian to not feel like he's defeated in this hurt. So I created a safe space, and it caused us to have a very beautiful conversation and led us to a good space.
That's day 5 if you want to read it.
The fact that you know.
No. Day 5, yeah. It's day 5.
Wow. Brian has been on this thing.
Time with
Yes,
this thing.
you have. Brian has done all of the detailed work. Even after our editor edited the book, he edited the book.
I re-edited the editing.
Yes, multiple times. So we're excited. As you can tell, we're so excited. This is a passion project, y'all. We have been wanting to do something to help others because we've had people help us. So we are really, really praying that you guys are blessed by it. Get the book, y'all. Check it out.
And what I also love, last thing, is that we wrote the whole thing.
Yes.
We didn't have any ghostwriters. It is literally Lexi and I, our voice, our conversation, and what we want to share.
We're going to put the link in the description below, but if you have any questions or you want to talk about the book or share any commentary of what we talked about today, comment below, let us know what you think, and ask us anything. We're pretty much an open book.
Cannot wait to get your feedback on it.
Yes.
Pre-orders up now, and we're shipping out
October, first week of October.
October 14th.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's, second week of October.
New work.
Yeah. Second week of October. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit us up at _Let's Get Deep Pod and at the _The Co-Life_ and YouTube, The Co-Life. So check us out. We love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Elijah's waking up, so we got to go. Love y'all.